Treehouse, Book Number 30, A Merlin Mission, Haunted Castle on Hallows Eve, by Mary Pope Osborne. Chapter 1, All Hallows Eve. Maybe I should be a vampire instead of the princess, said Annie. She and Jack were sitting on their front porch. A cool breeze rustled the trees. Autumn leaves swirled to the ground. But you already have your princess costume, said Jack. Besides, you were a vampire last Halloween. I know, but I want to wear my big teeth again, said Annie. So wear your big teeth and be a vampire princess, said Jack. He stood up. I'm going to go put on my glow makeup now. Ooh! Oh man, said Jack. A giant blackbird scooped down to the ground. The bird scuttled through the fallen leaves. Its feathers glinted in the golden afternoon light. Wow, is that a crow? Crow? Asked Annie. It's too big for a crow, said Jack. I think it might be a raven. A raven? Said Annie. Cool. The raven lifted its sleek head and stared at them with bright eyes. Jack held his breath. The bird hopped forward. It flapped its great black wings and lifted into the air. Then he glanced into the autumn sky and headed toward the Frog Creek woods. Annie jumped up. It's a sign. Morgan's back, she said. I think you're right, said Jack. Let's go. Jack and Danny hurried after their front yard, crunching through the leaves. They ran up their streets and into the Frog Creek woods. When they came to the tallest oak, they saw the rope ladder swaying in the wind. The magic treehouse was waiting for them, just as we thought, Annie said, smiling. Jack followed her up the ladder. When they climbed inside the treehouse, they saw no sign of Morgan Le Fay, the entrance from the kingdom of Camelot. That's weird, said Jack, looking around. The wind blew harder again, shaking the tree branches. A huge yellow leaf fluttered through the open window and came to rest at Jack's feet. Oh man, he said. Look at this. What? Said Annie. Jack picked up the leaf. There was red writing on it. The letters were curvy and old-fashioned. Wow, whispered Annie. What does it say? Jack held the leaf up to the treehouse window. In the fading light, he read aloud. To Jack and Danny of Frog Creek, on Hallows Eve, look for me in the hearth of oak. M. M, said Annie. Morgan never signed her message with M. Right, said Jack. But Merlin does, they said together. Like when he sent us the invitation to spend Christmas in Camelot, said Annie. She pointed to the royal invitation that still lay in the corner of the treehouse. Now he's inviting us on Halloween, said Jack. Halloween was called All Hallows Eve a long time ago. I know, said Annie. We have to go. Of course, said Jack. There was no way they could turn around and invent an invitation from the master magician of all time. But how do we get there? I bet her invitation will take us, said Annie. Like when we went to the King Arthur's castle on Christmas Eve. Good idea, said Jack. He pointed to the fancy writing on the leaf. I wish we could go to where this leaf invitation came from, said Annie. Right, said Jack. The winds began to blow. The tree started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. Chapter 2, A Hearth of Oak. Jack opened his eyes. A chilly wind blew into the treehouse. Oak leaves swirled outside the window. Look, We have our costumes, said Annie. I'm not a princess or a vampire. Jack looked at their clothes. He was wearing a knee-length tunic and tight. Annie was wearing a long dress with an apron. Camelot costume, Jack said softly. They looked out the window together. They were high in the huge oak tree, with a thick forest. The afternoon sun was low in the autumn sky. So what do we do now? Said Jack. The invitation said we're supposed to meet Merlin in the heart of the oak, said Annie. Yeah, but what does that mean? Said Jack, scowling. A heart of an oak. Let's go down and try to figure it out, said Annie. She carefully placed their invitation in the corner of the treehouse. Then she and Jack climbed down the rope ladder. They stepped onto the lifted ground. In the fading daylight, they began circling the base of the giant oak. They walked all the way around until they came to the rope ladder again. We're back where we started, said Jack. We never found a hearth. Wait a minute, said Annie. What's that? She pointed to the long, thick crack in the bark of the tree trunk. A silver of light seems to be coming from the crack. Jack touched the bark around the light. He pushed. The crack got bigger. It's a secret door, said Jack. He pushed harder. Crack! A tall, narrow door swung into the trees. Light streams from inside. We found it, whispered Annie. A hearth of the oak. Jack nodded. Let's go in, said Annie. They slipped through the narrow doorway into the bright hollow of the tree trunk. Jack couldn't believe his eyes. The round room was lit with hundreds of candles. Shadow danced on the curved brown walls. This isn't possible, thought Jack. The heart of the oak seems much bigger than the treehouse, a tree itself. Welcome, said the deep, whispery voice. They turned around and saw an old man sitting in the carved wooden chair. He had a long white beard and wore a red cloak. Hi, Merlin, said Annie. Hello, Annie. Hello, Jack. It is good to see you again, the magician said. I'm grateful for the help you gave us on Christmas Eve in Camelot. Now Morgan and I believe you might be able to help us again. We'd love to, said Annie. The whole future of our kingdom depends upon your success, said Merlin. Are you sure you want us? Jack asked. I mean, we're just kids. You have passed many tests for Morgan, said Merlin. Are you not master librarians and magician of everyday magic? Jack nodded. Yes, we are, he said. Good. You will need all your skill on this mission, said Merlin. You will also need a helper of God from Otherworld, the world of magic and legend. Are you coming with us? Asked Annie. No, the magician said. Your guide shall be no one much younger than I. He is in my library now. Yesterday, he brought me some book I had requested from Morgan Library. Merlin rose from his chair. Come, he said, leading them to the door in the curved wall. He opened it and stepped into other rooms. Jack and Danny followed him. The musty room was filled with scrolls and ancient-looking books. Sitting on the floor was the boy, about 11 or 12-year-old. He was reading by the lights of the lantern. Helper and guide, Merlin said to Jack and Danny. The boy looked up. He had a friendly, freckled face and dark, twinkly eyes. He broke into the big grin. Arf, arf, he said. Teddy, cried Annie. Jack couldn't believe it. Their helper was the young sorcerer who was training as Morgan's apprentice. Rintons. Merlin, for once, looked surprised. You already know each other? He asked. Yes, we met a while ago when I accidentally changed myself into a dog, said Teddy. Merlin wanted to teach Teddy a lesson, explained Annie. So she sent him with us on a treehouse journey before she changed him back into the boy. He saved us from the Titanic. Then he saved us from the buffalo stampedes and from the tiger in India, said Jack, and the forest fire in Australia. Forest journeys, indeed, said Merlin. I am glad you are already friends. Your friendship may help you on this mission. What is our mission? Asked Annie. We are now in one of the outlying realms of Camelot, said Merlin. Beyond these woods lie the castle of the dog. Merlin leaned forward as if he were about to tell something really scary. It will be your mission, he said, to bring order to the duck castle. Merlin sat back in his chair. His gaze was calm, but the fierce light shone in his eyes. Bring order to the castle? Thought Jack. Is that all? Who messed it up, sir? asked Annie. You will find out soon enough, said Merlin. We accept your assignment gladly, said Teddy. The mission will be done without fail. Merlin fixed his gaze on Teddy. Perhaps, he said, but a warning, my boy. You are hasty and careless with your magic rhyme. On this mission, you must choose all your words wisely. Indeed I will, said Teddy. Merlin turned to Jack and Danny. And a warning to you too, he said. You were about to enter the tunnel of fear. Proceeds onwards with courage, and you will come out into the light. Tunnel of fear? Jack thought. Merlin picked up the lantern and handed it to Teddy. The duck castle lay to the east. Go quickly, he said. Order must be rescued as soon as possible. Teddy nodded at Merlin. Then he turned to Jack and Danny. To the duck castle, he said. Then he led them out of the heart of the oak. Chapter 3. Rock. It was cooler outside now. Daylight was fading quickly. The winds had picked up. A grand adventure for us, eh? Said Teddy. Yes, said Annie. Jack was excited too, but he had lots of questions. As Teddy started off through the oak forest, Jack hurried to keep up. What do you think our mission is exactly? He asked. Merlin said we should bring order to the castle, said Annie. Perhaps he wants us to mop the floor and wash the dishes, Teddy joked, and make the bed, said Annie. She and Teddy laughed. Our mission has to be harder than just doing chores, said Jack. What about the tunnel of fear? Oh, you need not be afraid of fear, said Teddy. I know magic, remember? Teddy, did you know any magic before you met Morgan and Merlin? Asked Annie. Indeed. My father was a sorcerer, Teddy said, and my mother was a wood spirit from the other world. That is so cool, said Annie. They crunched through the pile of dead leaves. A gust of winds shook the branches. Golden oak leaves spun to the ground. Jack thought were spinning too. Merlin in the heart of the oak, sorcerer, wood spirit, none of these things would ever make sense back in Frog Creek. At last, Teddy led them out of the forest and into a clearing. Halt, he said. They all stopped walking. Beyond the clearing was a small village of thatch roof cottage. The cottage windows twinkled with candlelight. Chimney smoke rose into the dusty sky. Teddy held up his lantern. "Onward," he said. They went down the dirt path that passed through the village. Several children in rag clothes peeked out of their front doors. "Greeting," called Teddy. "Can you tell us how to get to the castle of the dog?" "The castle?" a boy said in a frightened voice. "'Tis just beyond the woods." He pointed at the forest on the other side of the village. "Follow the path and you'll come to it." "Oh, but you mustn't go there," a girl cried. "Why not?" asked Annie. Something been very wrong at the castle," said the girl, "ever since the ravens came." "Has anyone been there to see what's going on?" asked Jack. "Only old Maggie, who used to work there," said the girl. "2 weeks ago, she went to the castle as usual, but she came running back, scared out of her wits. Maggie says the castle is all haunted with ghosts." "Ghosts," said the boy. She kept repeating the same rhyme over and over. "Ghosts?" said Jack. His mouth felt dry, but Teddy just laughed. Ghosts don't scare me," he said. "Have you ever seen one, Teddy?" asked Annie. "No, but I should like to," Teddy said with a grin. "Look," one of the girls pointed at the sky. "The ravens are back." A flock of large blackbirds was flying low in the dark gray sky. The village kids screamed. Several grown-ups rushed out of their cottage. "Go away," a woman yelled at the raven. She picked up the handful of stones and began throwing them at the birds. "Leave us alone." Stop, cried Annie. You'll hurt them." A stone struck one of the ravens. It fell to the ground. "Oh no," cried Annie. The grown-ups pulled their children inside. Doors slammed and shutters closed. Annie dashed to the fallen birds and knelt beside it. Jack and Teddy hurried over to Annie and the fallen birds. The bird was crouching, silently spreading its wings. Its head was bowed as if it made low, squeaking sounds. One of its tail feathers was bent. "Coo, coo," Teddy said loudly. He looked at Jack. "I once journeyed to the Isle of Birds to study their language," he said. "I learned a bit of dove, but no raven." "Don't worry," said Jack. "Annie talked to the birds and animals in her own language." "I'm sorry for what they did to you," Annie said softly to the raven. She stroked its silky black head. "What's your name?" "Rock," the raven croaked. "Rock? Your name is Rock?" "Your name is Rock," said Annie. "Rock, Rock," croaked the raven. "See, I told you," Jack said to Teddy. "Rock, they were afraid of you for some reason," Annie said. Rock made a soft ball-like sounds. "Crong, crong?" "Yes, that's why they knocked you out of the sky," said Annie. "One of your tail feathers is bent, but your wings don't seem hurt." Rock fluttered his long black wings. He took a few feeble steps. "Go on, Rock," Annie said. Annie coaxed. "You can do it." The raven flapped its wing again. "Croak!" he croaked. He lifted off the ground. "Great," said Annie, clapping. Rock flapped his wings. He glided up into the twilight. He swooped up with ease back down to Annie. "Coo, coo," he called, as if thanking her. "Be careful, Rock," Annie shouted. They all waved as the raven sailed off into the sky. Annie smiled at Jack and Teddy. "He was really nice," she said. "Indeed he was," said Teddy. I think your gentle word were healing to him. I wonder why the people here are so afraid of ravens, said Annie. Yeah, said Jack. And what was that stuff about ghosts? Ghosts? Said Teddy. He smiled. You needn't fear ghosts if you're with me. Jack shrugged. I'm not really afraid, he said. Not afraid? Said the feeble voice. Jack, Annie, and Teddy rolled around. The old man stood in a dark doorway of the cottage. She leaned forward. In a cracked voice, she said, Where is the girl who spins wool into thread? Where are the boys who played chess before bed? Where is the hound who wait to be fed? The old man stared at them with a fearful look in her eyes. Then she stepped back into her cottage and closed her door. A shiver went up Jack's spine. That was strange, he said. She must have been old Maggie, who worked at the castle, said Annie. I wonder what she was talking about. I don't know, said Teddy. Then he grinned. But she was good at rhyming, eh? Jack nodded. Indeed she was, he said softly. Let's hurry along, said Teddy. Night comes fast upon us. Leaving the cottage behind, the three hurried on in the gathering dark. They left the village and followed the path through the woods. Teddy held up his lantern to light the way. The wind blew the branches of the trees, making them whisper in the chilly autumn night. When they finally came out of the wood, they all gasped in the wonder. Oh man, said Jack, towering before them in the moonlight were the wall of the huge stone castle. Chapter 4. The Castle. The castle was still and silent. No candle burned in its window. No guard stood at its gatehouse. No archers patrolled the top of its walls. Hello, Teddy shouted. No one answered. Not very well protected, eh? Said Teddy. Our mission should be easy. Yeah, said Annie. Jack didn't say anything. He would have felt happier if guard has been protecting the castle. That would have seemed more normal. Come along, said Teddy. Jack and Danny followed Teddy over the wooden bridge to the gatehouse. Teddy held up his lantern before the arched double doors. Cobwebs sparkled in the misty light. Hello, may we enter? He called. Silence. They all stared at the heavy wooden doors. Never fear, I shall get us in, said Teddy. The boy sorcerer put down his lantern. He took a deep breath. He rubbed his hands together. Then he stretched out his arms and shouted, Open, you two oaken doors. He looked at Jack and Danny. Quick, what rhymes with doors? Floors? Said Jack. Good, said Teddy. He opened his arms and yelled arms again and yelled, Open, you two oaken doors, or we'll not mop up your floors. Nothing happened. Teddy looked at Jack and Danny. Bad rhymes, he said. Annie frowned and nodded. Are you sure they even lock? Said Jack. Let's see, said Annie. She pushed on one door. Jack pushed on the other. Slowly the door creaked open. Ah, brilliant, said Teddy with a laugh. Shall we? He held out his hands and waved Jack and Danny through the open doorway. The castle gatehouse was cold and empty. Jack could see his breath in the sharp air. He heard a crack. They all turned to look. The heavy doors moved with themselves and closed with a thump. They all stared at the door for a moment. Then Teddy broke the silence. Interesting, he said. He shivered. He couldn't tell if it was from cold or from fright. Now, he wondered, now are we entering the tunnel of fear? Onward, said Teddy. He led them through the empty gatehouse into the shadowy castle grounds. There were no signs of life everywhere. Jack thought of the old Roman rhymes. Where is the girl who spun wool in the thread? Where are the boys who played chess before bed? Where is the hounds who wait to be fed? Jack wondered what the rhymes could mean. What girl? What boy? What hounds? Teddy crossed the courtyard to the entrance of the large building. Jack and Danny quickly followed him. Teddy held up his lantern so they could see inside. There were rows of clean, empty shell sandals and bridles hung from pegs on the wall. Hay was piled in the corners. Must be the stables, said Jack. But no horses, said Annie. No matter, 'tis orderly, said Teddy. Onward. He led them to the open doorway of another building. Teddy's lantern showed on the brick oven, a stone hearth, basket of apples, a string of onion hanging from the rafters. The kitchen, said Jack, but no cooks or servants, said Annie. No matter, 'tis orderly here too, said Teddy. Onward. As they wandered through the moonlit courtyard, Jack looked at his right and his left. He glanced behind them. If there are ghosts, he thought, what do they look like? Halloween ghosts in sheets? See-through people like in the movies? He stopped. Hey guys, he whispered loudly. Wait a minute. What is it? Said Annie. Jack pushed his glasses into place. Are we just going to keep wandering from building to building? He said. What's our strategy here? Strategy? Asked Teddy. Jack means we should make a plan, said Annie. Ah, indeed, said Teddy. Excellent idea. A plan, yes, he grinned. How do we do that? Well, first we ask ourselves, where actually are we going? Said Jack. Teddy looked about. He pointed to the tower rising above the courtyard. There, he said, the keep. This is where the family live, the dock and ditches. Great, said Jack. Now, what we'll do when we get there? Climb the stair to each floor, said Teddy. Have a look around, and if we see anything that's not ordinary, we'll tidy it up, said Annie. Excellent, said Teddy. And then, said Jack, we'll leave, said Teddy. Our mission's done. Jack nodded. This wasn't much of a plan or a mission, he thought, but he liked the leaving part. He hoped that happened before any ghosts show up. Okay, he said, holding his lantern to light the way. Teddy led them to the entrance of the castle keep. He pushed open the wooden door, and they all stepped inside. Dark fingers loomed against the stone walls. Ah, Teddy, Jack cried. He jumped back, bumping into Annie. Annie laughed. It's only our shadows, she said. Jack felt silly. Right, sorry, he said. He took a deep breath. Okay, let's find the stairway. Aye, said Teddy. He started walking slowly down the dark passageway. Jack and Danny followed close behind. The air was heavy and damp. Jack's heart was pounding. Now, he wondered, now are we in the tunnel of fear? Moaning sounds came through the passageway, then a loud bang. Yikes, said Annie. She and Jack grabbed each other. Teddy laughed. 'Twas only the shatter banging, he said. What about that moaning? Asked Jack. 'Twas only the winds blowing through the crannies, said Teddy. Jack took another deep breath and kept going. Soon they came to the twisting stairway. "The stairs," said Annie. "Good," thought Jack. Climbing the stairway was the sole part of their plan. "Shall we?" said Teddy. "Indeed, upward," said Jack, trying to sound like Teddy. Teddy held up his lantern and started up the steep stone stairs. Jack and Danny followed. They climbed around and around the twisting stairway. When they came to the first landing, Teddy led them to the doorway of the room. They peeked in. They saw a row of helmets, breastplates, gold-tipped shields, spears, and swords. "The armor room," said Jack. "Eh," said Teddy. "Everything seems in order here," said Annie. Jack nodded. He liked the order in the room. It made him feel safer. "Shall we keep going?" said Teddy. "Of course," said Jack. He was starting to feel a lot braver now. They returned to the stairs and began climbing again. On the third floor, they peered through an arched entrance into the huge room. Teddy used the candle from his lantern to light a torch on either side of the doorway. In the flickering light, Jack saw the high ceiling and the wall hung with tapestries. "It's the great hall," he said, "where they have a feast and stuff." "Let's look around," said Annie. "See if anything seems out of order." As the three of them slowly walked forward, Jack kept an eye on for ghosts. Teddy held up his lantern. It shone on a long banquet table. "Aha," he said. The table was littered with bread crumbs, candle wax, and the petals of dead flowers. The flowers near the table was messy too, with bits of wood and meat bones. "Finally, we found something to put in order," said Teddy. "Shall we?" Jack caught sight of the straw brooms in the corner. "Sure, I'll sweep," he said. "I'll clear the table," said Annie. "I'll scrub the wax," said Teddy. Jack grabbed the straw brooms and began sweeping the floors around the table. He swept up apple peelings, fish bones, bits of egg shells, and old cheese. As he swept everything into a neat pile, he felt good. They were finally carrying out their mission. "We're bringing order to the castle, just like Merlin told us to," he thought. "Soon we can leave." Suddenly Annie screamed. Jack dropped his brooms and whirled around. "Look!" Annie cried, her eyes wide. She pointed toward the stone hearth at the other end of the great hall. In front of the hearth, a large white bones hovered in the air. It bumped up and down. Then it began floating straight toward them. Chapter 5. Ghost. "Ah!" yelled Teddy. "Ah!" yelled Jack. "Ah!" yelled Annie. Still screaming, they all ran toward the door. The bones came after them. Teddy led the way as they tore through the archway and scrambled up the winding staircase. Jack looked behind them. "He's still coming!" he shrieked. "Ah!" they all screamed again. The next landing, Teddy charged into the nearby room. "Make haste!" he yelled. He pulled Jack and Danny into the room and slammed the door behind them. Out of breath, they all leaned against the door, panting and trembling. "Safe," Teddy gasped. "Safe from the bone." Then they started laughing. Jack laughed too. He laughed out the sheer terror. He couldn't stop. "Hey guys, listen," said Annie. "I hear the noise." Teddy stopped laughing. Jack clapped his hands over his mouth. He listened. He heard a faint clicking sound, but he didn't see anything. Teddy used the fire from his lantern to light a torch near the door. Then they all looked about. "Look like nursery," said Teddy. The torchlight showed the kids' room. The room had three small beds. Wooden toys were scattered across the floor. A long white curtain fluttered from an open window. A clicking noise seems to be coming from the dark corner. What is that? Whispered Annie. She started toward the noise. Jack and Teddy followed her. Teddy held up his lantern. Its light shone on the child-sized spinning wheel. It sat in the corner near the basket of wool and the tall, dusty mirror. The spinning wheel was spinning thread, but no one was touching it. It was spinning all by itself. Look, whispered Annie. She pointed to the low table near the spinning wheel. On the table was a chessboard, large wooden chess piece at the square of the board, but some of the pieces weren't just sitting. As Jack, Annie, and Teddy watched, the horse piece slid slowly from one square to another. Then a queen piece did the same. Yikes, said Annie. Ghost, said Teddy. Let's get out of here, said Jack. Rolled it across the room. Teddy threw open the door. The white bone was hanging in the air, right outside the door. Ah! They all screamed. Teddy slammed the door shut. They huddled together, afraid to leave and afraid to stay. Jack's heart was beating wildly. He couldn't breathe. I thought you weren't afraid of ghosts, he said to Teddy, gasping. Yes, well, I believe I just discovered that I am, said Teddy. What will he do? What'll we do? Said Jack. A rhyme, said Teddy. He gave Annie his lantern. He threw out his arms and started the rhyme. Spirit of earth and air. He looked at Jack and Annie. Quick, what's rhyme with air? Bear, said Jack. Teddy shook his head. I fear the bear might make things worse. Jack tried hard to think of the better word to rhyme with air. Wait a minute, said Annie. I get it now. I get it. She grinned at Jack and Teddy. Had she lost her mind? Jack wondered. Remember what old Maggie said? Asked Annie. Then she receded. Where is the girl who spins wool in a thread? Annie pointed at the spinning wheel in the corner. There she is, she said. She's spinning at that wheel. Annie recited more. Where are the boys who played chess before bed? Annie pointed at the chess table. There are, she said. They're probably her brothers. They're playing chess. She recited more. Where is the hounds who wait to be fed? Annie threw open the doors to the nursery. A bone was still hanging in the air. Jack and Teddy jumped back in fear. Don't be afraid, said Annie. It's just a dog, a hound. He carried the bones in his mouth. Don't you see? A girl, a boy, a hound. They're all here. They're just invisible. Chapter 6. Merlin's Diamond. Jack and Teddy were speechless. They kept staring at Annie as she got down on her knees and talked to the invisible dog. Hi, you, she said in a soft voice. Are you hungry? The bones dropped toward the floor. It flipped over and rocked from side to side. See, Annie said to Jack and Teddy. Now he's rolling on his back with his bone in his mouth. Poor thing, said Jack. We have to help him, said Annie. She stood up. We have to help them too, the girl and her brothers. She hurried across the room. Jack and Teddy followed. Annie stopped at the small spinning wheels. We can't see you, said Annie, but we're not afraid of you. We want to help you. Can you hear me? The spinning wheel stopped spinning. She can hear us, Annie said to Jack and Teddy. Annie turned back to the ghost girls. What happened to you and your brothers and your dogs and everyone else in the castle? How did you all become invisible? Jack felt a wave of cold air push past them. I think she's moving, said Annie. Hey, said Teddy to the looking glass. See? And invisible fingers had begun to write something in the thick dust of the mirror. First were slowly appeared. Diamond of Destiny stolen. I can't believe it, said Teddy. This must be a secret castle that guards the Diamond of Destiny. What's that? Said Jack. The magic diamond that belonged with Merlin, said Teddy. It was sat in the handle of the very sword King Arthur pulled from the stones many years ago. Oh, I know that story, said Annie. That's how Arthur became king. Yes, said Teddy, and someday a Diamond of Destiny will give the same strength and power to the next rightful ruler of Camelot. That's what Merlin must have meant when he said the future of Camelot depended on us, said Annie. Indeed, said Teddy. Wait, said Jack. I'm confused. What does the Diamond of Destiny have to do with invisible Kit and Dog? After Arthur became king, Merlin gave the diamond to the noble family of Camelot, said Teddy. The name of family was kept secret. As long as the family kept the diamond safe, they would have good fortunes. But should they fail to protect it, they would fade from life. Oh, so the family let the diamonds get stolen, said Annie, and now they're all turned into ghosts. Precisely, said Teddy. I wonder where the diamond was kept, said Jack. Good question, said Teddy. Certainly some special hiding place, perhaps in one of the towers. Guys, look, said Annie. She pointed to the wall near the mirror. I think that's the invisible finger wrote the raven. Oh no, whispered Teddy. Please no. Jack felt a fresh wave of fear. Oh no, please no. What? He said. Wait, said Teddy, pointing at the mirror. The finger wrote one more word in the dust. King, just as I feared. Said Teddy in the hushed voice. The Raven King. Chapter 7. Oh, 1, 2, 3. So that's why Merlin sent for these books, said Teddy. What books? Who's the Raven King? Said Jack. Now it all makes sense, said Teddy. Who's the Raven King? Said Jack. But I wonder how he found the Diamond of Destiny, said Teddy. Teddy, who's the Raven King? Jack nearly shouted. He's the terrifying creature who comes from the other world, said Teddy. I read all about him in one of the books I brought Merlin from Morgan's library. As a boy, the Raven King longed to be a bird so he can fly. He stole a spell from the Wizard of Winter, but he didn't have a magic to make work properly. So the spell only worked halfway. He made him half bird and half a human. Oh man, said Dad. Now he's commanded a huge army of ravens who treated him as their king, said Teddy. Why would he steal a Diamond of Destiny? Asked Annie. I don't know, said Teddy, but we must get it back for the sake of Camelot's future. And for these ghost kids too, said Annie, and the ghost dog. She looked around the room. Don't worry, she called. We'll help all of you. We'll get the Diamond of Destiny back. We will? Said Jack. How? We don't know where this crazy raven man lives or anything. Look, more writing, whispered Teddy. She heard you. 3 more words slowly appeared in the mirror dust. Nest on mountaintop. Jack felt cold air whoosh by him again. The curtain covering the window moved aside. A patch of moonlight shone on the floor. Jack, Annie, and Teddy walked to the window and looked out. In the distance, a craggy mountain rose into the moonlit sky. Ah, whispered Teddy. So there's dwells the Raven King. I have thought his nest was in the other world. It might as well be, said Jack. We'll never be able to get to the top of that mountain. I, said Teddy. No mere mortal can climb that steep rock. How will we get the diamond back? Cried Annie. I said, no more mortal, said Teddy. I am more than a mortal, remember? I'm a sorcerer. Yeah, but your rhymes never work, said Annie. True, but I have more than just rhyme, said Teddy. He pulled a twig out of his pocket. See? What's that? Said Jack. 'Tis an ancient hazel twig, said Teddy. Its magic is strong enough to change me into anything I want. Oh, wow, said Annie. So, did Morgan give you that? Asked Jack. No, said Teddy. Morgan and Merlin do not even know I have it. A forest spirit, a cousin of my mother's, gave it to me, in case I was ever in urgent need. So what do you want to change into? asked Annie. Why, a raven, of course, Teddy said. Teddy's crazy, thought Jack, but Annie didn't seem to think so. What a cool idea, she said. They're both crazy, thought Jack. It's cool indeed, said Teddy. He held up the twig. Wait a minute, said Teddy. Do you have a plan? I mean, what are you going to do once you change into a raven? I shall fly up to the mountain nest, said Teddy. Find the diamond, bring it back. Mission's done. And what do we do? Asked Annie. Wait here for me. I'll be back as soon as I can, said Teddy. He climbed up onto the window ledge. His moon shadow scratched across the floor. Good luck, said Annie. Thank you, said Teddy. He raised his hazel twig. Stop, said Jack. Can we discuss your plan a little more? But Teddy was already sweeping his straight hazel twig through the air. He waved it first the top of his head to the tip of his toes. Teddy, stop, said Jack. But Teddy started to rhyme. Oh, hazel twig from hazel tree, make me a raven, quick, he said. A word that rhyme with tree? Wait, said Jack. Doesn't rhyme with tree, said Teddy. Three, said Annie. Brilliant, said Teddy. He started again. Oh, hazel twig from hazel tree, make me a raven, 1, 2, 3. He waved the twig loudly. Careful, said Jack. He ducked and covered his head. Suddenly, he heard a roar. He felt a blast of heat. Then he heard a strange screech. Jack looked up. Teddy's hazel twig had fallen to the ground. Jack saw Teddy's shells on the floor too, but it was no longer the shadow of the boy. A chill went through Jack. The large raven was perched on the windowsill. Moonlight shone on its silk blue-black wings, its scraggy throat feathers, its thick neck, and big beak. A second raven stood beneath the window. It looked like a first, only smaller. Where's Annie? Jack wondered wildly. He tried to call her name, but the terrible croak came from the back of his throat. Annie! Jack felt as if he were caught in a terrible nightmare. With a jerk turn of his head, he peered down at his own body. His arm had turned into the jet black wings. His legs were stringy twigs that ended in 4 long, skinny toes with curved claws. He had accidentally changed them all into raven. 1, 2, 3.